There we go. All right. Sometimes it takes a moment to get from our brains to our fingers to the keyboard. Totally get it. Okay. All righty. So welcome. You're here with us this afternoon for the information session on the LADWP Community Emission Reduction Grant. We're so pleased to have you here, and we'll be spending the next 90 minutes or so together talking about this great opportunity from the LA Department of Water and Power, talking about the resources of CSUN that will be available to you as you apply for this program. The Center for Nonprofit Management is really pleased to be partnering with both LADWP and CSUN. And we also want to recognize our marketing partners, the Valley Nonprofit Resource Center, whom you may have learned about this opportunity from. It's really fun to get to do a partnership project on such a cool and needed topic. So with that, I will turn it over. We'll move to the next slide, and my partner, Nat Zappia from CSUN Institute for Sustainability will talk to us about our land acknowledgement.
Thanks, Alexis, and hey, everybody. Great honor to be here and looking forward to working with all of you. And of course, we wanted to start with our land acknowledgement. And so on behalf of CSUN, LADWP, and CNM, we wanted to acknowledge the Gabrielino, Quiche, Tongva, and Tataviam peoples of the LA Basin and the San Fernando Valley, who are the traditional land caretakers of Tovangar and Sissetovim, which is, again, the LA Basin, Channel Islands, Southern Channel Islands, and the Valley. We pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, relatives, and relations, past, present, and emerging. And also recognize that the Gabrielino Tongva, Quiche, Tataviam, Tongva nations are still here and are committed. We're committed to lifting up their stories, culture, and community. So thanks, Alexis.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead to the next slide. So we have a lot of acronyms today, but the most important thing to know is that we have a dedicated team of folks who are guiding you through this process today and through the process to apply for the grants. We'll spend some time talking about that. Brian is our tech producer today from Center for Nonprofit Management. If you encounter any technical issues, please email him. Excuse me, not email, chat him. We'll be spending our time today with DWP learning in detail about the Community Emission Reduction Grant, the eligibility requirements, and the kinds of projects that you can consider. And then we'll be talking about something that we've been calling our Bootcamp, or the resources that are available for applicants. We'll lay out some dates for you where we have some resources available, and we will have time for Q&A both after the Community Emissions Reduction Grant portion of the presentation and at the end again. We ask you to put your questions in the chat, and our team will be monitoring the chat so those questions are brought forth at the appropriate time. Go ahead to the next slide. I'm Alexis Moreno. I'm a senior strategist at the Center for Nonprofit Management, third generation Los Angelino. Really pleased to be part of this project. I'm happy to be joined by my colleague, Carlos Casares, who's a special projects and client services advocacy representative here at Center for Nonprofit Management. And we have Nat, would you do your team? And then we'll move on to DWP.
Sure. So my name is Natal Zappia, or Nat Zappia. I'm Director of the Institute for Sustainability, also in the History Department. And I'm working with my colleague, Chris Kachikian, who's a professor in civil engineering, construction and management. In the past, he's worked at the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs. We also have two other members in the team I didn't get to put on the slide, so I apologize. Terry Kang, who's the Director of Development for the Institute for Sustainability, and Sarah Johnston, who's our lead sustainability specialist. So we're all working together with you all.
Excellent. Thanks. Thank you. And then we're really pleased that we were brought into this partnership by Keisha Washington from LADWP. I know that we worked together last summer and she approached CNM and CSUN with this idea of making sure that we could reach out to more organizations to find out about this incredible opportunity from LADWP. And I know that there were listening sessions and a lot of openness and innovation that went into what we're bringing to you today. So we're really pleased to be working with her team to see the direction that LADWP is taking and to move forward together. And I believe, Regina, did you want to share a little bit more about the background of our partnership with LADWP? I thought she, okay. Let's go ahead to Keisha.
And I'm happy to share that information. So good afternoon, everyone. As indicated, my name is Keisha Washington, and I am the Director of Innovation Strategic Partnerships at DWP. And in a minute, I'm going to introduce you to the awesome team that we have at DWP who will guide you through the technical aspects. But I want to go at a 50,000-foot level. We are here with you, and we have partnered with CSUN and CNM, in part because of what we saw during our last grant application process and what we heard from our board. And simply put, that was we need to reach out farther and wider and deeper to make sure that the grant applications that we're getting back from the community reflect the views of the community, reflect the needs of the community. So we're trying to get as close to street level to ground level as possible. And they'll go over more specifically why we're doing this, but we realize that our operations sometimes have an impact, and we've done our best to make sure our impact is as mitigated as possible. But this was a great opportunity to invite the community to come in and figure out what else can we do to make sure that we're operating as clean, as transparent as possible. So I'm going to kick it off first to Catherine Rubin, who's our Environmental Affairs Manager of Air and Water Quality at the Compliance Group. And she is also the Program Manager for the CERG, which is really the Community Emission Reduction Grant Program. Catherine. Catherine, you're on mute.
Thank you. I think I've done that twice now. I just wanted to say thank you, Tasia. And I am the program manager for the Community Emission Reduction Grant Program, but the heavy lifters really are Tasia and Andrea. And so I just want to introduce Andrea Villerin. She's the manager of the Air Quality Group, and she reports to me. And Tasia Ganapa, who is also a member of the Air Quality Group, and she reports to Andrea. And I'm going to give sort of the introduction overview of the program. Andrea will get more into the details, and then Tasia will get even further into the details. So with that, I think we can go forward. All right, thank you. Next slide, please. Thanks. Okay, so LADWP will be funding up to $20 million in grants from 2020 through 2026 for emission reduction grant projects in the Harbor and Valley communities. And this program, as you know, we've already used the acronym, but it's called the Community Emissions Reduction Grant Program. Next slide. Our first round of, no, back. Back. We're kind of jumping. There you go. Oh, next slide. There you go. Stop. Thank you. Okay. Our first round of grants were funded in 2021. We had a total of 9 organizations. They were nonprofits, public agencies, and regulatory agencies. And these grants were funded for in the Harbor and Valley communities. And I'm going to get into why the Harbor and Valley communities in just a minute. So our second round, though, of grants is going to be May 23rd through July 15th, and we're hoping to fund those by the end of the year. All right, next slide. So LADWP developed this program in response to the City Council Motion 18A, which was a directive for the local version of the Transformative Climate Community Program. And that's to provide funding to communities that have a top third Cal Enviro score in order to achieve equity and environmental parity. So the Transformative Climate Community Program is a program to empower communities most impacted by pollution to have goals and strategies and projects to achieve a multiple benefits, such as public health, economics, and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in order to address climate change. And on the next slide, not yet, coming, you will see that the Harbor and Valley communities are disproportionately burdened by multiple pollution sources such as refineries and truck traffic and other types of pollutants. And they do have Cal Enviro scores in the top 1/3. And LADWP also owns and operates. It's like Keisha was saying, we have facilities in these areas, and it operates its harbor and valley generating stations. And these, we will be transitioning these facilities to a clean energy future. So if we can go to the next slide, which will be the Cal Enviro. So you can see on this slide, the yellow looks like they have a little windows and the yellow thing mapped out there. You will see that we're focusing on council districts 2, 6, 7, and 15. 2, 6, and 7 is in the vicinity of our valley generating station and in that community. And Council District 15 is down in the harbor community, which is near our harbor generating station. Next slide, please. So our LADWP Community Emission Grant Reduction Program the environmental and public health benefits include, we want to reduce particulates, nitrogen oxide, the greenhouse gas emissions, reduce the health risk of the residents surrounding there. And we're trying to get down, we support the goal of reducing greenhouse gases 40% below 1990 levels by 2030. And we also are supporting our city's sustainability plan, which is our Green New Deal to battle climate change and be a leader toward a low carbon and green energy future. So next slide. Also, our Community Emissions Reduction Grant Program has economic benefits, which include our workforce development, job training and creation, business assisted with funding, and to increase what we are hoping to see, the infrastructure, which are the chargers, for electrification for our customers. So next slide. So the program goals include electrification, and as I've been saying over and over again, achieving low emission reductions to benefit the health of the surrounding communities, to educate the public on electrification and EV transportation, and to benefit the current or future electric vehicle customers, because as you know, here in the state of California, we're moving on to the future of electrical vehicles by 2030 or 2035. So now I will hand it off to Andrea, and she'll get into a little more specifics about the grant funding. Thank you. Andrea?
Great, thank you, Catherine. Yes, so under the Community Emission Reduction Grants Program, funding for grants would range from approximately $100,000 to $500,000 per project. Funding will be drawn from proceeds from LADWP's sale of its credits from the Low Carbon Fuel Standard Program, or LCFS, as well as the sale of its California carbon allowances under the Cap and Trade Program, both of which are programs of the California Air Resources Board, or CARB. Because funding is tied to these specific programs by CARB, projects that qualify are limited to what's allowed by the LCFS and the Cap and Trade regulations. As Catherine had specified earlier, this program was modeled after the California Strategic Growth Council's Transformative Climate Communities Program, or TCC. Similar to the TCC program, the Community Emission Reduction Grants Program allows for startup costs of up to 15% of the total project cost. I'll go over the approved project types shortly, but please note that only 1% of the total funding can be allocated towards educational programs as allowed by the cap and trade regulation. Next slide, please. All right. The program is open to 501c3 nonprofit organizations in good standing with a minimum of 3 years of service within the city of Los Angeles. It is also open to public agencies, including but not limited to regulatory agencies. Next slide, please. Okay, potential projects must be located within council districts 2, 6, 7, and 15, as Catherine had previously stated, with a maximum of 3 years to complete the project. Most importantly, the projects must be able to provide energy-related environmental benefits, specifically greenhouse gas emission reduction benefits to the community. Next slide, please. So in addition to offering emission reduction benefits, eligible projects must also comply with the funding requirements of CARB's Cap and Trade Program and CARB's LCFS program. Under the Cap and Trade regulation, eligible projects include but are not limited to renewable energy, renewable energy projects or integration of renewable energy such as solar roof or solar panel installations, energy efficiency projects such as fuel switching or switching from natural gas, propane, or diesel to electric equipment. Energy efficiency projects could also include energy efficient equipment rebates, building retrofits, and other projects that could reduce energy demand or usage. Also included are infrastructure projects, including private or public EV charging infrastructure. The regulation also allows for transportation projects or projects that support active transportation, such as the use of electric vehicles or zero emission vehicles. Under the low carbon fuel standard regulation, the only requirement is that the project must benefit current or future EV customers. For more info on these two programs, the links to both the Cap and Trade program and the LCFS programs are provided on the slide. It will also be available for your reference on the website. Yeah, let me hand it over now to Tasia.
Thank you, Andrea. Now I'll just be discussing some past projects that we funded in the round 1 of the program. As you can see, there's a combination of solar panel projects, EV bike programs, and electric vehicle charging stations for a total of $4.2 million. So just to highlight a few, there's Climate Resolve with their Cool Roof and Solar Gray program. They received funding to install smog reducing cool roofs for 18 qualifying low-income homeowners in the Wilmington and Watts community and reduce greenhouse gas emissions in those areas. And there's also Pacoima Beautiful with their Electro Bicycle program. It's an e-bike program serving the Northeast San Fernando Valley. U.S. Green Building Council Los Angeles has a green affordable housing program, and they receive funding to help create a holistic and innovative platform for tenant education, property manager and manager organization and rebate support, and community EV charging as well. Moving on to the next slide. So this is the scoring criteria for the community grants program. It's out of 100 points, and more detailed information about the criteria is also posted on the LADWP grants website for full transparency of how to obtain a high score for your proposal. And the projects are evaluated on a competitive basis. So the total points is 100, and out of the 100, the vision for transformation is 5 points to make sure that the project maximizes GHG reduction goals and community benefits. The vision should address the project area's resources and limitations and how to implement the project goals for the most beneficial methods for the community. The GHG reduction component is 30 points, and so each project will have a calculated GHG emission reductions. Next, the capacity is 15 points to ensure the applicant has the ability to effectively manage the funds awarded, as demonstrated by the applicant's description of a previous project. Transformative elements is 20 points, which includes economic benefits to the community members in the area, and also how the project will increase resiliency in the community. Project outcomes is 30 points because the project must have an achievable and effective outcome for the community, and the project implementation should show long-term benefits to the community. And more, as I mentioned, more detailed information is posted on the website. So the application process is as follows. There's going to be an application form that's going to be available on the Community Grants website. The applicant must also create a work plan for the projects and include elements like the project title, milestones for the project, estimate of emission reductions, cost per year, total cost, project description, and plan to maintain project benefits. And so when both the application form and work plan are completed, you can submit the materials to the email listed there, communitygrants@ladwp.com. Next slide, please. So to learn more, you can visit ladwp.com/emission reduction grants. This website has all the information you'll need about the program. So there's program background, eligibility requirements, and several other sections that are also listed here for your information. Moving on to the next slide. Thank you, and I'll open it up to any questions now.
So one of the questions in the chat was, would this grant program be open to other council districts?
Currently, the only council districts that the grant is open to is 2, 6, 7, and 15. We don't have plans at the moment to open it up to other council districts because we are focusing on the Valley and Harbor Power communities, but we'll be sure to update you if that changes in the future.
Excellent. Andres asks, what if we work across council districts, including those that were mentioned?
It's fine if the project spans several council districts, but it just has to be located within the 2, 6, 7, and 15.
Okay, excellent. We have from Paula. My organization wants to install electric vehicle chargers and solar panels. Who should I connect with? So Paula, that's a great question. When we get, in just a moment, we'll be talking about the resources that are available to you as a grant seeker. So we'll get into that in detail. Lisa asks, would this grant cover the replacement of a diesel refrigerated truck with an electric vehicle that we use to rescue food from LA Produce Mart and other large vendors?
Looking at this brief project description, it seems like that would be an eligible project because it is an electric vehicle based project and fuel switching from diesel to electric. So that seems like a great project that would qualify for this grant.
Excellent. And then we have Veronica asking, if we got the grant in 2021, can we get it again?
So what we discussed is that if a past applicant wants to apply for this grant again, they'll have to partner with another nonprofit that has not received the grant yet to make sure that we're distributing the funding equally and giving other nonprofits a chance to apply for this grant. So you're able to apply as long as you partner with another nonprofit and kind of take on the program together.
Excellent. Okay. Somebody, Joni reminded, read in the chat that a lot of this information is available on the LADWP site. It will also be on the Center for Nonprofit Management site, and we will be sending the recording after. So if you are trying to keep up writing notes, not to worry, we will send the information to you so that you can have it at your ready disposal. Another question is, our organization wants to install irrigation improvements to our community gardens. Are there water conservation grants?
I'm not familiar with the water and conservation grant side. If it's from DWP, if you're looking for a DWP grant, you can try emailing communitygrants@ladwp.com and I can try to direct you to the correct people. I'm just not familiar with water conservation grants at this moment.
Okay, thank you for that. And then a question about the 1% for educational materials. Is that a minimum or a maximum?
That is a maximum, and that 1% comes from the CARB cap and trade program. The funding requirements are listed in the regulation, so that's where we get that 1% maximum.
Excellent, okay. A question about, says, I'm in SPA 6. Is this an eligible area? So one of the resources, I believe, on the LADWP site and in the materials we sent out is a LA City Council map. So if you can locate your organization or your project site on the map, it will tell you which district you are in. I believe SPA 6 is that Metro, Regina? Carlos, you'll remember this. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's see, South LA, yep.
It encompasses Athens, Compton, Crenshaw, Florence, Hyde Park, Linwood, Paramount, and Watts.
You're in the area with Watts, so.
Correct. Watts is in CD 15.
Yeah,
Excellent.
sounds like for now you should stay with us.
Yes. Yes. And thank you all for overlapping those maps in your head to put it together. Another question, could we apply for funding to buy a low emissions bus for our nonprofit?
I believe this would qualify. Not entirely sure what you mean by low emission, but if it's switching from diesel to something less polluting, like electric bus, that would qualify. So it has to be a decrease in emissions.
Okay, excellent. And Joni, you have a question here that I think might be best for you to speak out loud. If you can take yourself off of mute for a moment.
Yes, here at the hospital, we have built some electric car spaces, parking spaces, but what we're finding is we don't have enough. And so I was wondering if expansion projects, making more electric car parking available would be something that would be taken into consideration.
I believe that for this project in particular, due to our strict funding requirements from CARB, the project itself will have to result in emission reductions. So I don't believe that an infrastructure project to expand a parking lot would qualify. But if you can send an email to communitygrants@ladwp.com with more details, maybe we can look into it further. But yes, my initial thought is I don't believe that they would qualify.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Alexis, for putting that in the chat box.
Yes. Okay, here's a question. Lisa asked, does our nonprofit have to be physically located in one of the 4 districts? Or is it okay if our work occurs in those districts? We are located in Los Alamitos, 87% of the food we rescue is from LA County.
Yes, so as long as the project is benefiting Council Districts 2, 6, 7, or 15, it will qualify. The nonprofit itself does not have to be within those council districts, but it does have to benefit those. So it sounds like this project would be would qualify.
What else do we have coming in? Is North Hollywood 91605 within the eligible area for this grant program? Again, I have another list that has zip codes and the council areas, but I don't have that available in front of me at the moment. But somebody else on the call might have that map in their head. I believe that's District 2. Okay. And Veronica asks where, thank you, Paula. She says yes, District 2. Where can we see more examples of projects that have been previously awarded?
So far, we have just had the first round of our grant applications with funding awarded. So it was the 9 that I displayed on the table previously. There's also an article that DWP published for our online magazine. I can drop it in the chat box below for your information. I'll find it right now.
Thank you, Tasia. We'll also include that in the resources that we send out and we put on our website.
Alexis, we also have links to these 9 projects on our website.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. That would be fantastic. Okay. And then one last question that I think we didn't get to was a question about finding a consultant to recommend the kind of project. Can you recommend a consultant that could advise our facility on projects we could undertake? So I think I'm going to see if DWP has an answer for that, and we may also hear about the expertise that's available to you from CSUN in the next part of our presentation.
We don't have any consultants that we can refer you to at this time. We're not working with any consultants right now. So I'll defer to Alexis and CNN.
And I just want to chime in. That's in part why we have this engagement with CSUN and with the center. DWP will be the ones actually reviewing. So we want to be sure that we're going to see it with fresh eyes. So we wish you luck. There are resources out there, but we're not going to be able to provide them to you.
Got it. Thank you, Keisha. Okay. So it seems like we're ready for the next session. I'm going to ask Regina to take us into this next part, and we haven't heard from her yet.
Well, I just wanted to say good afternoon, everybody. And essentially what Keisha just hinted at is the extraordinary part of what's coming up next for you. And you are going to have, and as a nonprofit at CNM, we know how great it is when you can have partners to help you think about a proposal. You have access to people that can help you think about evaluation and measurement. And you have people that can help you actually write the proposal. So all of that is included in this process that we're going to unveil right now. So, you know, a boot camp means that it's busy and you're going to stress your muscles a bit. And so we have a couple of sessions set up in the coming months to help you get all that done, to assess whether or not you want to go for these dollars, and then to make sure that you have a successful proposal to submit. So I think the smart thing is to turn it over to the people that are going to be doing some of this support for you. But our role at CNM is to make sure that we have training sessions for you that'll help move this along. So you will, throughout this process, have increased capacity to go after government grants, to design a proposal, to understand some of the you know, extra requirements for government dollars around outcomes, measures, evaluation. We do have a list of grant writers that we respect that you can take a look at to figure out what and who is the right match for you. And then you have all the smart people from CSUN to help think about the science and the math and the emissions and the CARB requirements and all those issues that the team from the DWP just described. So you're not on your own with this at all. So we're really excited between now and July, when these are due, that you have lots of people that want to be supportive.
Excellent. Thank you, Regina. Let's go to the next slide. So CNM, some of the things that we pride ourselves on is really, we are a nonprofit like you are, so we understand a lot of the challenges and the places where you need support as a nonprofit. We are setting up our sessions to be very hands-on and to give you a chance to apply learning in the sessions and to do problem solving together. We will have the sessions virtually. We're not yet shifting back all of our operations in person. And we'll be offering recordings and keeping in touch with you as we go along a sequence of activities to help you get to the July 15th due date. We're inviting up to 3 folks from each of your organizations to be part of this boot camp with us. And if you are one of the organizations that is interested in partnering with someone else to apply for these funds, we're happy to be in the mix with you on that, connect you with one another, and provide support to think those kind of partnerships through. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. And then Natal, you want to take on this one? And I'm just noting that we are paying attention to the questions in the chat. We'll get to those in a moment.
Thanks, Alexis. Yeah, just to add to what CNM and LADWP has mentioned, as many of you know, CSUN is it's part of the CSU system. It's a large institution, big anchor in the Valley, and we are, we have, as part of this process of brainstorming and planning with CNM and LADWP, we've compiled a list of not just faculty but other experts who are experts in all the CO2 sequestration, GIS, all the things that you might need. We have a wide array and wide range of experts in these areas, and we also have the kind of the institutional capacity to to help with all that, these, not just the experts themselves, kind of brainstorming and just kind of thinking through some of the ideas. So this is something that several centers on campus are already involved in, and as part of this process, we will employ have folks come in and do one-on-ones, or come in and also give talks around some of these themes and issues. So that's kind of, I don't know if Chris wants, if you want to jump in and add anything else to that, but I think that's kind of how we're, this is how we're going to be our roles in this process.
Yeah, the only thing, good afternoon, everyone. The only thing I was going to add is some of these sort of quantification calculations might be daunting if you've never done it before. So our primary role is to make sure and support you to get through that whole process. But outside of that, we have a huge network of people who do all kinds of things in this space. So we're happy to brainstorm with you. We're happy to think through projects. Even when you start a project and you get stuck, we're happy to work with you on this. But our primary goal is to make sure that you're not shying away from this because it looks too technical and you don't know how to do it, because that's why we're here to help you get through the whole thing.
Excellent. So would those conversations also help an organization decide what kind of project makes sense for them?
So that's a little bit tricky, because you might think, picking a project might have ramifications beyond this grant that might impact the way the nonprofit operates. So I don't feel comfortable to be in that space to talk about long-term strategy or big picture things around the nonprofit. But if it's, if we're looking at a facility and brainstorming what would qualify, how they would approach it, what the costs would be, those are the kinds of things we can work with you to think through, for sure.
Excellent. And we do have a session on program planning, which is where we can spend some time together thinking about what projects make sense for your organization. We encourage you to think about the needs of your community. If you have an organizational strategic plan, that's another place to kind of weigh your options and think about your priorities. So I think together with CSUN and CNM, we have some tools to help you make your organization make the best decision. But I agree with Chris, none of us is nor is the DWP in the position of saying, well, here's the 3 things you should do, right? We really want to be walking alongside you and helping to ask the most useful questions. Excellent. Okay. So here's how we think the Bootcamp or the Activation Academies, our first workshop on May 6th is meeting with the math and science experts to start thinking about actually we'll spend some more time on the grant requirements, and then we'll start thinking about what kind of experts are available to you to start making the determination. The next session is going to be program planning, and this is where we'll connect you with grant writers. from the list of referrals that we have. We do expect that in between the time that we're together as a group, you will be meeting on your own with your math, science, and expert, so that you can make the most out of their expertise for your plan, creating a work plan. And we'll have another session toward the end about program evaluation. This is going to have you think about how you're reporting the results of what you're doing. And then all aiming toward the key date of July 15 for submitting an application. We had another question before I move on to this slide. Participation in the boot camp is completely optional. It does not weigh into how your proposal is evaluated or the scoring criteria. It is really just the DWP and our partnerships offering to get as many folks in the pipeline as possible, but completely optional and not a part of the scoring criteria. So I hope that's clear. And then another question about available support from grant writers. So the idea at this point is that we have a pool of funds, and once we see how many folks are interested, we'll figure out the best way to get the most resources for the most people. In terms of grant writing, we'll give you a chance to meet the grant writers on our session 3 and start doing some matching up. And we'll have, Regina, I'm gonna actually defer to you to fill in a little bit here. We were talking about this earlier, and I think you had some great insights on this.
Well, I hope what you're all hearing is that these are people that are resources to you and for you. So you'll have people from CSUN that can help you think about the proposal. You'll have grant writers to choose from to help you write the proposal and think about filling in all those documents. And then you'll have people on the CNM side that'll help you think about the evaluation in partnership with everybody else on the grant writing side and on the science and math side. So what you have are partners to help you be more successful and to build the skills if that's something that you want to learn more about as you think about going after government dollars, not just the DWP, but going forward. So we think that this is something that it certainly isn't required, but that may respond to some of the pain points that we all deal with when we're going after funds to do the work that we want to do. So hopefully that helps you.
Excellent. And then another thing that you'll want to know about is our next slide is really the dates of these sessions that are coming up. Starting with today, our time together, the information session, May 6th is meeting the science and math experts. You'll get a link, and it'll be on our website shortly, so that you can register again for May 6th. May 21st is program planning and meet the grant writers. June 15th is program evaluation, and then the applications are due to the LADWP on July 15th. So we really tried to balance two things here, to give you the information when you need it so that you can act on it, but also give you time in between to do the work that you need to do on your own to get a strong proposal in. All right, and next slide. Okay, so a question in the chat. Looked at the eligibility guidelines on the website. My organization measures pounds of food distributed, but now not how many people receive the food. The guidelines ask for a number of constituents reached. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like maybe there needs to be a calculus expert in the room for that question. I think that there may be some ways to figure that out. We would probably want to sit with you and think through localities or estimated number of food per recipient. I think there's ways that you can get at that number. Other folks with questions that we haven't covered yet.
May I chime in real quick, and because I can't type as quickly as I can think. One, would you please explain whether or not they need to attend all of the sessions? to be able to reap all of the benefits and what that looks like?
Well, we will not be taking attendance. You know, this is for grown-ups, right? So what we want to make sure that if this is useful to you, this is the pace where there will be these resources available, and the opportunity to talk to peers about, there may be some partnerships there may be some, you know, sort of collective problem solving and thinking together. So you're not required to attend. But we do hope that you take advantage of the resources if they're useful to you. So hope that answers your question. Keisha, I'm glad you asked.
Yes, and also we understand that folks are working harder than ever in our sector. So if there's a date that you can't make, we are making the information available and following up with folks. So we hope to have the resources as accessible as possible, given the circumstances. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I don't have my video on, but I have a question. There we go. Hi.
Hi, Sharon, go ahead.
What about projects that cross over? We have a project that is just on the border of Watts and Willowbrook, and it crosses into City of LA territory. Its beneficiaries affect the City of LA territory as well as county area. How is that? Does that make it eligible or ineligible?
Is it in 15, Sharon? Is it
Yes.
close to 15?
Yes. We're right at 15. We're right at the El Segundo and Compton Avenue area. So we're right at the Watts, Willowbrook, Compton intersection.
Mm-hmm.
And our project is designed, it's a physical site, but our project is designed to serve the 5-mile radius.
Okay, I'm going to
If it
defer to
benefits
Tasia.
council- Yes, no problem. So if it benefits Council District 15, it would qualify. We prefer to keep everything within those district boundaries as a way to kind of keep track of our projects and comply with the initial requirements when this grant program was first created. So as long as it benefits 15, it should qualify.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, I will turn it over to my partners, to Regina, Keisha, LADWP folks, if there are things to add, closing thoughts before we move on to what are next steps for us all. We can move ahead, Carlos, on the slides.
I just want to check with my group, with Andrea, with Catherine or Tasia. Are there any final thoughts, final comments?
No, we're just very excited to see the new proposals. Also, I don't want there to be any confusion. I think I mentioned that the second round opens up May 23rd. We're opening up to accept applications. That doesn't necessarily mean that, it's going to be May 23rd through July 15th. So I just didn't want there to be any confusion that, they'll be going through the boot camp and everything.
So, sorry, just to be clear, it's after July 15th that the proposals are reviewed and would be awarded.
That's correct. We're
Okay.
looking to fund by the end of the year, 2022.
Excellent. Okay.
And I just want to reiterate what I thought I heard is this information will be shared with everyone who registered, and we'll have the opportunity on the DWP side and with our governmental affairs team to also share with the council offices if they want to also push that out?
Yes, sure, we can do that. We also have Joni has a hand raised.
I just saw that there was a email, or not, a link to where the information could be found, because I'm on the DWP website right now and I can't seem to find that particular information. Although I was not aware of the community partnership grants, and that was interesting. But yes, the CREGs. Where was that again?
So we'll go to the next slide. We're sending all these links out to everyone.
Okay.
So you'll see it there at the top line on your screen. And we can
Emission
copy this
reduction.
and get it in the chat. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Complete evaluations.
And we are asking folks, not only do we want to know how we did, but we want to find out your level of interest after our session today and make sure that we have the right contact information for you. So we have a link here, we'll put that in the chat. And we'll ask you to take just 4 more minutes of your day to complete the information that we're asking for there. And it looks like we are able to return some of your time in your afternoon back to you. I do want to thank everyone who had a hand in getting us together today, putting all this information in an accessible and digestible format. This will not be the last time you're seeing the types of eligible projects, the links for calculators. It's a lot of information. We're here to walk you through it step by step. We want to thank Tom Backer, who was part of our marketing team to get the word out at Valley Nonprofit Resource. And really thank you all for showing up with us today. We look forward to moving ahead on this with you and looking forward to being able to share your successes as we continue to get together and do this work together. So please look out on your email for an email from us. We'll have the resources you need and the links to come together with us on May 6th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Goodness.
Is this the end of the session?
Yes, we're all done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We would give you cookies, but we're not in person.
This may sound like I have no idea even why I was invited to this program, and I'm not sure what it's about or how it would benefit my organization. We're a church, but we have a homeless shelter, and we service anywhere between 200 to 500 clients. And I don't know what this can do for us, or how we would match what you guys are trying to do. And that's really the question that I have, only because I was not made aware of what it is, what your end goal is, what it is you guys are trying to do, and how it matches with our organization.
So we will go ahead and send the slides to you in the recording that talks about the kind of projects that are eligible, so you can see if they are a match for the kind of work your organization is doing. But if Tasha's still on, maybe she could do the 2-minute version. Oh, she's
No, Tasha's off, and I can just talk briefly. First, can you tell me where you're from, which part of the city?
Yes, we're in SPA 6. That was my
Okay,
question.
the South LA.
Yes.
So what we're looking for are projects, and that would be in CD 15, that are going to reduce the carbon footprint. And because the LCFS monies, the funding source is really focused on electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging stations. So without going too much into what TNM and others can help you with, we're looking for projects like that. So if you think about the footprint of your church, and does it make sense, for example, to add some EV charging stations and other things to go with that?
Well, we've had several requests to provide something like that. We definitely have the space. We have at least 5 different lots connected to our building. So we have the space to take on some projects. What is the best fit for us? That's more or less a better question. And how we could better, serve the community in that way, we would definitely be willing to do that.
So I think you're a good candidate, at least to continue to have a conversation with both CSUN and CNM. CNM will be able to help you with kind of putting together the proposal, but CSUN is going to be really helpful in helping you to understand the numbers. Because at the end of the day, we're looking to see, how are you reducing the greenhouse gas emissions? What does that look like?
Okay, like things like if we have solar and things like that, or the type of appliances.
Yeah, but it's really going to be the EV charging stations. I mean, solar helps, but if you were to put up a parking lot, if you look at the past proposals, for example, I believe it was LA County with someone else actually did EV bikes to provide to their workers, et cetera. So definitely look at the resources we're providing you to give you ideas of what was approved in the past, and then kind of think about what works for your community.
Because those were definitely a couple of years ago ideas that we did have, since we do have the space, maybe some sort of a solar panels, just a station, or just we're open to whatever works.
And I'm trying to hold back because eventually I'm going to be evaluating. So I don't want to say too much more. So I'm strongly encouraging, read the information, and use the resources we're providing. That's why we did it.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you for.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.